Success is built. It's engineered. It's the direct result of the habits you build into your life. Because no matter how big your goals are, no matter how ambitious your vision, no matter how much potential you carry, if your daily habits don't support that vision, you'll never see it come to life. Most people want success, but they live by habits that guarantee mediocrity. They say they want to win, but they don't act like it. They say they want to change, but their patterns stay the same. They talk about goals, but they live in cycles. They make plans, but their habits contradict their progress. And the truth is, your habits will always win. They will either build you or break you. They will either align with your potential or undermine it. They will either move you forward with quiet power or pull you backward without making a sound. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. And your systems are nothing more than the collection of habits you live by every single day. That's why you can't just hope for success. You can't wait for discipline. You can't depend on motivation. You have to engineer a life that makes success inevitable. You have to construct a foundation so strong, so clear, so consistent that no setback can shake it. No distraction can weaken it. No failure can collapse it. And that foundation is built with habits, not dramatic changes, not overnight transformations, but consistent, deliberate action that becomes second nature. Because habits don't just change what you do, they change who you become. They shift your identity. They rewire your belief system. They move you from someone who wants success to someone who expects it, someone who operates like it, lives like it, leads like it. And the best part is, once a habit is locked in, it no longer requires constant effort. Once it becomes part of who you are, it carries you. You don't have to fight yourself anymore. You don't have to negotiate every decision. You just show up. You just do the work. You just follow through. And when that kind of execution becomes normal, your results begin to compound. You start gaining ground faster than you ever thought possible. Because now, you're no longer depending on bursts of energy. You're powered by consistency. You're no longer wasting time with starts and stops. You're making uninterrupted progress. The people who win, the ones you admire, the ones who seem to be cut from a different cloth, they're not special. They just built different habits. They made different decisions. They trained themselves to live differently, think differently, act differently. And those habits, they're not a secret. They're available to you right now. You can adopt them. You can install them. You can condition yourself to live at that level. But you have to be willing to take responsibility. You have to be willing to unlearn the habits that got you here and replace them with the ones that will take you there. This is not about adding more to your life. It's about replacing what no longer serves you. This is not about perfection. It's about alignment. It's about creating a system of behaviors so tightly connected to your vision that your habits carry you even on the hard days. Because in the end, success is not something you chase. It's something you attract by the person you become. And that person, the version of you who is operating at the highest level, is built habit by habit, action by action, day by day. The first critical habit that will define your success, more than talent, more than motivation, more than even discipline in the beginning, is the habit of owning your time. The way you treat time will determine everything else. Your productivity, your results, your peace, your growth. If you waste it, you lose control of your future. If you master it, You start building momentum that compounds in every area of your life. And yet most people live as if time is endless. They act like there will always be more hours, more days, more chances, but there won't be. Your time is not a resource you can get back. Every hour you waste is gone. Every morning you ignore is a missed opportunity. Every evening you zone out is one more chance to grow that slipped through your hands. You have to stop treating your time casually, because the people who win, who really win, treat time like a sacred asset. They don't waste it. They don't surrender it. They don't let other people control it. They protect it like their life depends on it, because it does. So how do you build that habit? You begin with clarity. If you don't know what matters most, everything feels important. If you don't know what your real goals are, you'll get pulled into everyone else's. You'll spend your days reacting instead of creating. You need a system, a daily rhythm that prioritizes your most valuable actions first. Not the urgent things, not the comfortable things. The things that actually move your life forward. You carve time for them. You lock it in. You make it non-negotiable. That means waking up on purpose. No more snooze button. No more starting your day in reaction. You start with intention. You start with ownership. You start with a decision to lead your day instead of being led by it. Most people start their day checking their phone, emails, messages. And the moment they do that, they're on defense. They've handed their mental real estate to someone else. Now they're not thinking clearly. They're reacting. Now they're not focused. They're distracted. You need space before the world touches you. You need space to think, to plan, to align with your goals. Even 30 minutes in the morning, locked in, uninterrupted, intentional, can change the trajectory of your day. That's not a routine, that's a weapon. And it doesn't stop there. Once your day starts, time management becomes the discipline of saying no, because there will always be something trying to steal your focus. There will always be something urgent. There will always be someone else's agenda. But just because something is urgent does not mean it's important. Just because someone wants your time does not mean they deserve it. Just because you feel busy does not mean you're being productive. Productivity is not about doing more. It's about doing what matters. And doing what matters means identifying your highest value activities and building your day around them. It means creating blocks of focused work. It means removing distractions before they show up. And most of all, it means being honest, brutally honest, about how much time you waste, about how often you check your phone, about how often you escape, because we all have 24 hours. And if someone else is creating more results, they're just using those hours differently. So you audit your time, you track it. You look at how much of your day is spent doing things that align with your future and how much is spent staying the same. And when you see it clearly, you change it. Not by trying harder, but by building habits that make it automatic. You schedule the things that matter most. You create anchors in your day, set routines that keep you grounded. You eliminate decisions, because every decision costs energy. And the more energy you waste deciding when to do something, the less likely you'll follow through. Successful people don't make 100 different decisions every day. They make a few, and they make them in advance. They eat the same meals. They plan their weeks. They build a rhythm that makes execution easier. That's not boring. That's strategic. Because freedom doesn't come from doing whatever you want. Freedom comes from creating structure, that frees your mind to focus on what matters most. If you want to become great at something, anything, you need uninterrupted time to practice it, to study, to reflect, to build. And that means you have to protect your time like it's your life, because it is. And when you do, when you consistently show up for those windows of focus, everything starts to shift. Your work gets better. Your energy improves. Your thinking clears. Your confidence builds. You start respecting yourself because you're no longer reacting. You're no longer drifting. You're no longer just getting by. You're building something with intention, with purpose, with momentum. And the more you do it, the more natural it becomes. What used to feel like effort becomes automatic. What used to be hard becomes your baseline. Because now your habits are aligned with your goals. Your time is serving your future. The second critical habit for success is mastering your focus, because time without focus is wasted. Motion without concentration leads nowhere. You can show up, but if your mind isn't sharp, if you're scattered, distracted, fragmented, you'll spend hours working and have nothing to show for it. The world is loud. It's always buzzing, always reaching, always calling for your attention. And if you don't train yourself to protect your focus, you'll live your life in fragments. 10 seconds here, 30 seconds there. 5 minutes of TV, 10 minutes of multitasking. And before you know it, your day is gone and nothing meaningful got done. Focus is the new currency. In a distracted world, the ability to focus is a superpower. It's the difference between people who create at an elite level and people who stay stuck in busy work. It's the gap between those who execute and those who just talk about executing. You cannot reach your potential unless you learn how to direct your attention fully, deeply, consistently, because your attention is the gateway to your mind. What you focus on expands. What you ignore withers. What you feed grows stronger. And most people are feeding the wrong things. They're feeding distraction. They're feeding worry. They're feeding fear. They're giving their best attention to low-value inputs, then wondering why their output is mediocre. You must take control of what you let into your mind. That means filtering your inputs. That means cutting out the noise. That means saying no to distractions, to shallow conversations, to the habits that keep your mind busy, but never make it better. Because if your mind is full of clutter, there's no space for vision. If your thoughts are fractured, there's no strength in your decision-making. If your attention is divided, your results will be diluted. So you must train your focus like a muscle. Start with a simple rule. Eliminate multitasking. You may think you're doing multiple things at once, but you're not. You're just switching rapidly, losing momentum with every switch. Every time you switch from one task to another, your brain loses traction. It takes time to ramp back up. You lose speed, you lose clarity, you lose presence, and over time, you lose your edge. Focus means going all in, one task, one priority, one intention at a time. It means blocking out time to go deep, not wide. It means giving your best energy to your most valuable work, not what's easy, not what's urgent, what truly matters. And to do that, you need to create environments that support your focus. You need physical spaces free of distraction, mental spaces free of chaos. You need clarity around what your highest value work is, and you need time dedicated to doing it, uninterrupted. This is not something you build overnight. It's something you train, bit by bit, one focused block at a time. And the more you do it, the easier it becomes. You start to enjoy the depth. You start to crave the clarity. You stop needing the noise. Because here's the truth. The world has trained you to be distracted, to chase novelty, to check your phone every few minutes, to watch TV all day. But that wiring can be undone, and it must be undone if you want to do work that matters. So start small. Build the muscle. Block 25 minutes for deep work. No television, no interruptions. One task, full intensity, then rest, then repeat. Build up. Expand your capacity. Learn what it feels like to go deep. And once you taste it, once you experience the momentum that comes from sustained focus, you'll never want to go back. You'll start protecting that space. You'll start craving the quiet. You'll start guarding your mind with the intensity of someone who understands its value. Because your mind is your greatest asset. And if it's constantly scattered, constantly reacting, constantly pulled in 10 directions, you'll never reach your highest level. But if it's trained, if it's focused, if it's present, you become unstoppable. You'll make better decisions. You'll execute faster. You'll notice details others miss. You'll do work that is not only effective, but excellent. Because now, you're not just showing up. You're arriving with full presence, with precision, with power. And when focus becomes a habit, your entire life sharpens. Your conversations get better. Your relationships deepen. Your thoughts gain weight. Your actions gain impact. Because you are no longer scattered. You are anchored. So do the work. Rebuild your attention. Create rituals that protect your focus. Say no to the noise. Say yes to depth. Train your mind to concentrate, to lock in, to go all the way. Because the person who can focus in a distracted world will always win. The third critical habit to build lasting success is the habit of physical energy management. Because your body is not separate from your goals. It is not a side detail. It is the vessel that carries you through everything. And if your energy is low, your standards will fall. If your body is tired, your mind won't be sharp. If your system is weak, your performance will break, no matter how driven you are. You cannot create high-level output from a depleted system. You cannot expect focus, clarity, consistency, execution, or confidence from a body that is running on fumes. And yet that's how most people live. They grind through exhaustion. They fuel themselves with caffeine and stress. They live in a cycle of survival. And then they wonder why their motivation disappears, why their mood crashes, why their consistency breaks down. Your physical energy is not optional. It's essential. It is the foundation beneath every other habit you build. You can have the best time management system. You can have razor-sharp focus. But if your body is breaking down, your foundation will crack. This is not about being a fitness model. It's not about being obsessed with health. It's about understanding that your body is your performance tool. It's about treating it with the same intensity you give to your goals. Because your body affects your mind. Your energy affects your thinking. Your physiology affects your psychology. The first habit you need is movement. You cannot sit still for hours and expect your brain to stay sharp. You were not designed for stillness. You were designed to move. Your brain thrives on oxygen. Your posture shapes your confidence. Your blood flow fuels your clarity. And if you do not move daily, you are cutting your capacity before the day even begins. You don't need to train for hours. You don't need to become a bodybuilder. You need a system of daily motion. walking, stretching, lifting, moving your body with intention, something that gets your blood flowing, something that activates your nervous system, something that signals we're here, we're alive, we're ready. This is not about exercise, it's about energy. It's about creating a physiological state that supports focus, discipline, and execution. And the more consistent it becomes, the more natural it feels. Your body starts working for you instead of against you. Then there's sleep, the non-negotiable foundation that almost everyone treats as optional. But your brain cannot recover without it. Your hormones cannot balance without it. Your creativity, your discipline, your memory, your emotional control, all of it is powered by the quality of your sleep. You cannot hustle your way through sleep deprivation. You can't trick your system. You can mask it temporarily, but eventually it catches up. And when it does, it's not just your energy that breaks. It's your consistency, your habits, your momentum. So you treat sleep like a strategic weapon. You create a wind-down routine. You protect your sleep window. You remove television late at night. You train your system to rest deeply, consistently. Because every time you wake up exhausted, you're starting the day with a deficit. And then there's fuel, your nutrition. Your body is a performance machine. What you feed it determines how it runs. And most people are putting garbage into their system and expecting elite performance. They eat for comfort, not for clarity. They eat for convenience, not for energy. This is not about dieting. It's not about counting every calorie. It's about choosing food that supports you, that sustains your energy, that keeps your blood sugar stable, that keeps your mood strong, that keeps your focus intact. Because you cannot build momentum if your energy crashes every afternoon. You cannot be consistent if your mind is foggy. You cannot lead yourself if you're constantly in a cycle of peaks and valleys. And you don't need perfection. You need intention. You need a few high-impact shifts that raise your baseline. More water, more protein, more real food, fewer chemicals, fewer spikes, fewer things that drag your energy down. You need to build recovery into your rhythm, because success is not about going 100 miles an hour every day. It's about managing intensity. It's about knowing when to push and when to pull back, when to go hard and when to recover. Because recovery is not a break from success. It is a part of it. You cannot sustain high output without recovery, just like you cannot build strength without rest between sets. You cannot build long-term success without space to reset. So you build habits that allow you to decompress, to unplug, to breathe. This might be walks, meditation, reading, time away from the television, reflection, anything that calms your nervous system and resets your energy. Because the calmer you are, the clearer you think, and the clearer you think, the better decisions you make. You don't wait until burnout forces you to slow down. You schedule recovery like you schedule work. You create space to restore so you can return stronger. Because that's what this is really about. Resilience, longevity, consistency. Because success is not about what you can do in a day. It's about what you can sustain over months, over years, over a lifetime. And that's not possible without high energy, without a system that supports your performance, without a body that matches the demands of your goals. The fourth critical habit to lock in your success is the habit of emotional regulation. Because even if your time is structured, Your focus is sharp. Your energy is strong. If you cannot master your emotions, you will break in high-pressure moments. You will make impulsive decisions. You will react instead of respond. And one emotional outburst can destroy weeks, even years of progress. Your emotions are signals. They are not problems. They are not enemies. They are messengers trying to tell you something. And if you don't learn how to hear them, if you don't train yourself to respond instead of react, your emotions will drive your life off track. Most people are emotionally reactive. Something upsets them and they lash out. Something goes wrong and they spiral. Something triggers them and they lose their discipline, their clarity, their control. And then they say things they didn't mean. They do things they regret. And now they're cleaning up a mess they didn't have to make. You cannot live at the highest level if your emotions run the show. You cannot grow consistently if you are a prisoner to your moods. You must become the kind of person who can feel everything, but still choose your response. You don't suppress your emotions. You regulate them. You master them. You channel them. That begins with awareness, because most emotional reactions are unconscious. They're patterns, scripts, loops that got installed years ago. And unless you slow down and observe, you'll keep playing the same scenes over and over again, thinking it's just who you are. But you're not your reactions. You're not your outbursts. You're not your past emotional habits. You are what you choose. And if you want to raise your life, you have to raise the way you feel, interpret, and respond to emotion. That means learning to pause. In the gap between stimulus and response, there is power. In the space between what happens and what you do next, your future is being shaped. And most people never use that space. They react immediately, habitually, emotionally. But when you pause, even for a breath, you create leverage. You create room to ask better questions. You create room to step back and see the full picture. You give yourself the chance to respond from your highest self instead of your most wounded self. This is not weakness. This is strength. Emotional regulation is not about becoming robotic. It's about becoming more aware, more stable, more grounded, so that when life throws chaos at you, and it will, you don't crumble. You don't implode. You stay anchored. And that stability allows you to lead, to execute, to grow. Because now you're not wasting time cleaning up emotional messes. You're not destroying relationships in a moment of anger. You're not sabotaging your own discipline because your emotions got too loud. You must learn to regulate not just the extreme emotions, but the subtle ones. Frustration, resentment, disappointment, shame. These emotions don't shout, they whisper. But if left unaddressed, they build. They grow in the background. And then one day, they explode. So you get honest with yourself. You check in. You ask, what am I actually feeling right now? Where is this coming from? Is this about this moment, or is it something deeper? You learn to name it, to feel it, to hold space for it without letting it control you. And you create practices that help you stay clear. This might be journaling, walking, breath work, honest conversation. Anything that creates a pattern, interrupt. Something that gets you back in your body, back in your breath, back in your perspective. Because the goal is not to avoid emotion. The goal is to master your emotional process, to stop bottling everything up, to stop exploding, to stop oscillating between numbness and overwhelm, to find the strength to stand in your emotion without drowning in it. And when you do that, when emotional regulation becomes a habit, you make better decisions. You lead better conversations. You attract more peace. You eliminate unnecessary conflict. You build relationships based on clarity, not chaos. You start living in alignment because now your mind and your emotions are not fighting each other. They're integrated. They're flowing together. They're supporting your growth, not disrupting it. And the truth is, most of your setbacks in life were not because you didn't know what to do. They were because you didn't manage what you were feeling. The regret, the fear, the insecurity, the anger, the panic, the old wound that got triggered and made you self-sabotage. When you heal your emotional patterns, you eliminate half your resistance. When you strengthen your regulation, you double your consistency, because now you are not governed by your worst moments. You are guided by your clearest self. The fifth critical habit that shapes your success more than almost anything else is the habit of keeping promises to yourself. This is the root of self-trust, the foundation of confidence, the signal to your subconscious that your word means something. And without it, everything else cracks. Because if you don't trust yourself, it doesn't matter how many goals you write down. It doesn't matter how many books you read. It doesn't matter how powerful your vision is. If you've trained yourself to break your own word, to abandon your own plans, to negotiate every time things get hard, you will never feel powerful. And here's the truth most people never face. The way you build trust with yourself is the same way you build trust with anyone else, through repeated follow-through, through action, through consistency, not through talk, not through motivation, not through hype. You say you're going to wake up early. Do you do it? You say you're going to work out. Do you show up? You say you're going to be more focused. Do you create the structure to make that real? You say you want to change. Do your actions confirm that? Because every time you keep a promise to yourself, you gain strength. Every time you show up when it's hard, when it's boring, when it's inconvenient, you show yourself that you are becoming someone new. Every time you follow through, you prove to your mind, I am someone who does what they say. And every time you don't, every time you say one thing and do another, you teach yourself that your word means nothing. You teach yourself that discipline is optional. You teach yourself that your vision is negotiable. That's why so many people feel stuck. It's not that they don't know what to do. It's that they don't trust themselves to do it. They've made too many promises and broken too many of them. And now, even when they commit to something, there's a voice in the back of their head saying, you won't follow through. But that voice isn't permanent. It can be changed. It can be rewired. And the way to do that is not by making huge, dramatic promises. It's by making small ones and keeping them. You don't need to transform everything overnight. You need to create momentum. You need to pick one thing, one decision, one promise, something real, something small enough that you can execute without question. And then you do it. Day after day, no matter what. That might be journaling for 5 minutes, reading 10 pages, drinking more water, stretching for 15 minutes. Anything that proves to your subconscious, this is who we are now. It's not about the action itself. It's about the message it sends. Because when you start keeping small promises, you begin to rebuild your identity. You start shifting your self-image from someone who quits to someone who follows through. And once that shift happens, everything else becomes easier. Because now you believe yourself. And when belief is restored, your habits stick. Your discipline deepens. Your confidence grows, not because everything is perfect, but because you know that when you say something, it means something. You must become someone whose word is law, not to other people, but to yourself. Someone who no longer accepts half effort. Someone who no longer lives with loose commitments. Someone who no longer lets their future be dictated by their mood. This isn't about punishment. This is about power. The kind of power that comes from alignment, from living in integrity with your values, from knowing that your thoughts, your actions, your direction, they all point in the same direction. Because when you say you'll do something and then you do it, your mind quiets. You no longer waste energy on guilt. You no longer waste energy on negotiation. You are free because you are in flow with your own leadership. And that kind of internal leadership shows up everywhere, in the way you walk, the way you speak, the way you execute. People feel it. They trust it because you trust it. So ask yourself, what promises have you broken? Where have you let yourself down? What goals have you written down again and again but never followed through on? And what would happen if that changed? If starting now, your word became unbreakable? How much could you build in a year, in 5 years, in a decade, if every commitment became action, if every intention became reality, if every promise became a pattern? What kind of leader would you become? What kind of momentum would you build? That's not a fantasy. That's a decision, and it begins now. Not with a massive shift, but with one promise, one small commitment, executed with excellence. Repeated until it's automatic, because that's how trust is built. That's how transformation happens. That's how lives are changed. Everything you want in life will come down to one thing: your habits. Not what you say you want, not what you hope will happen, not what you promise when you're inspired, but what you do every single day, in the quiet, in the ordinary, in the moments where no one else sees you. Because in those moments, you are creating a future. You are laying down the tracks your life will ride on. And if your habits are weak, inconsistent, or reactive, no amount of ambition will make up for that. But if your habits are strong, intentional, and aligned with your vision, everything changes. You've seen it now. Owning your time gives you the ability to lead your day instead of being led by it. Sharpening your focus allows you to go deep, not wide, and execute with intensity. Managing your physical energy builds a platform for high-level performance. Regulating your emotions puts you in control no matter what life throws at you. And keeping promises to yourself creates self-trust so strong that you cannot be shaken. These are not optional. They are not extra. They are the pillars of real success. Not flashy success, not temporary success, but the kind that lasts, the kind that compounds, the kind that becomes legacy. And you don't need anyone's permission to begin. You don't need a fresh start or a perfect moment. You need a decision, a commitment, and then relentless consistency, habit by habit, day by day. Because success is not a lightning bolt, it's a thermostat. It's the level you train yourself to live at. And when your habits raise that level, everything around you begins to catch up. Your opportunities, your confidence, your results. So now the choice is yours. Will you continue living at the mercy of your impulses, your distractions, your past patterns? Or will you take control? Will you build the system? Will you lead your life instead of waiting for life to hand you something better? because no one's coming to fix it for you. No one is going to build it for you. This is your responsibility. And that's not a burden. That's your greatest power. You've been given everything you need. Now it's time to use it. Start small. Start now. Lock in one habit at a time. Build trust with yourself. Gain momentum. And once it clicks, don't stop. Double down. Expand. Strengthen. Because this is your future, and it will be built by the habits you choose today.